why I thought Terry probably became such a prolific worker so early. Two things. When Junior had the title, Terry would go into the territory the week before. We'll say he was going to wrestle Jack Briscoe one night and maybe Jerry the next night. Well, Terry would go in the territory the week before, wrestle those guys, and he'd wrestle heel and try to hurt them. You know what I mean? There may be a bounty on his head. But he just didn't do that in Florida. He was doing it in LA. He was doing it in Detroit. He was doing it in uh, Montreal, in Toronto, uh, he, all of Texas, the four territories in Texas, Houston, San Antonio, Amarillo, and Dallas. He did it in Watts' territory. So he got all this experience. Then in 72, what they used to do when Ricky Dozan had Japan Pro Wrestling, after he started sending guys to Amarillo, and after he died, Baba did the same thing. In fact, Baba went to Amarillo to get experience, and Inoki did too. Inoki wrestled as Tokyo Tom, and they would get all this public. And then later on, Shoshu, Jumbo, Saruta, they would all go there and get all this publicity, and they came back in as big stars, right? Well, there was no Guy Gene, which they were as foreigner baby faces in Japan. Did you ever see the match of Dory and Terry against Abdullah and the Sheik?
Oh, yes.
Where he,
Crazy match. Yep.
where he stuck the fork in Terry's arm and it was sticking out of his arm?
Yep.
They
Insane.
they became the biggest baby faces in Japan, and Dory and Terry were the bookers for American Talent. So that's how they got a lot of guys to go to Amarillo. I mean, because the trips were fairly long, and they didn't have any big towns. You could make a good living, but you weren't going to make a lot of money. But you made a good living. But the golden parachute was you at least got one trip to Japan, and that's when they were doing, uh, besides the 3 week tournaments, they were doing 4 and 6 week tournaments. And if you got over there, you may get 2, possibly 3. You know what I mean? And look at all the guys from Amarillo that became stars in Japan. Hansen started in Amarillo, Brody, uh, Tully, the list goes on. Bobby Duncombe, uh, Terry, Dory, uh, the Guerreros. I mean, it just went on and on and on. So that was how they got guys to come to Amarillo. And 2 guys busted it wide open as heels one time. First, Thunderbolt Patterson, and then the original Sheik. So the original Sheik and the Funks became very close. So when the Sheik got Detroit in Ohio, he bring the Funks in, you know. And I got to meet the father one time in Tampa. What a presence he had. So, I mean, they had that territory up and running. And it's too bad that they didn't have a town like the size of San Antonio or Dallas. You know what I mean? Because then you would have made a boatload of money.
was just watching an old interview of Funk, and he was talking about you, and he goes, "Man, he was, he was great, he was crazy, but he had some great ideas, and he had some bad ideas." He was saying you never ran out of ideas, but he was joking around that you had some really bad ones. You agree with that?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, you can't always have winners. I mean, I had some bad ones. Terry did too. You know that everybody raves about the empty arena match, right?
Yep.
They did it wrong because the next time they wrestled in Memphis, the house was way down. You know why I say they did it wrong? Terry should have got Lawler's eye, the baby face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we all make, and Terry made very few, but we all come up with some ideas that are pushing the, like you're painting off the easel. But Terry was brilliant. In fact, when Dory was the booker in Florida, I followed him. But after, when Dory was the booker, really, Terry was the booker. Because Dory would call Terry every day, and they would book it together.
And the thing is, too, I was just talking to a wrestling historian, John Snowden. We were talking about Funk because he used to interview him a lot. They were working on a Funk book, or a big Funk story. They were working on a Dusty book. They were working on all this stuff. And Funk mentioned the Lawler thing. He said, "I hated that feud. I hated that match." And he said, "Why? Everyone says it's 5 stars. They love it." He said, "I didn't make any money. We lost money. Then, like you said, they lost money." So he equated not good matches. He equated with how much money he made, which is smart.
Yeah, and that's the proof in the pudding that sometimes even the brightest of all guys, and I put Terry up there. I mean, you know the match with him and Flair and the judges.
Yep.
That was my idea. Terry loved it. And you got I want people to watch that match because before Funk gets in the ring, Rick is 1,000% heel because of Steamboat, right? 5 minutes after Terry got in the ring, Rick was a babyface when he pile drived him on the table.
Yep.
He was brilliant. Terry was brilliant.
Russell wore 89. But you know what's interesting? Funk and Flair, which doesn't get as much critical acclaim as Flair Steamboat.
Right.
Funk and Flair made way more money. Flair and Steamboat didn't. That feud didn't draw as well. Not even close.
And you know why?
No.
Because this is my opinion. It's Ric Flair's opinion too. Remember when Ricky brings his little son on the white horse and his wife wanted to be Miss Elizabeth? Bonnie wanted to be Miss Elizabeth. She comes out in the gowns. Like, that just took away from a world championship match. It wasn't like Randy, Boss, and Elizabeth around. It looked like Ricky was under her thumb.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot